No playback sound, just playback video. Okay.
I can tell what you got.
What's that?
I can tell what you got as far as tone quality is concerned, or
Of sound?
loudness, yeah.
No way. You've got to play back on a regular.
Tape deck.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. I think in this session, like I'm gonna try to do this whenever we've got access to a camera, but this session I like to focus on your family and just stuff about your parents and what was like growing up and relatives.
Where I was born and how I was raised.
Yeah. Let's go with like the child early period now. So I want you to
Make a natural chronological
try to keep it fairly chronological.
fashion, or chronological progression.
Yeah. So just start with your name, your birth date, and all that
You
stuff.
running?
What's that?
Is it running?
Yeah. That's right.
Look in the camera, or you?
You can do either. I'll move over here so it'll make feel more natural.
Well, my name is Laurence Eugene Cannon.
Fact.
Serial number 3510364, United States Navy, retired. I'm also duly retired as a civilian. My main hobby is doing nothing and just as slowly as possible.
Oh, that's the truth.
I've sometimes been criticized for that.
Not anyone in particular?
Every racer that must travel at his own pace, because only he knows how long he's going to last. I was born in North McAllister, Oklahoma, at 11:30 p.m. on the 20th of May, 1924. Just turned 70 last month. This is what is referred to in chronological history as the Depression days in the United States. In Depression they were. In my particular area of Oklahoma, in McAllister, had no industry at the time I was born. People were living at a decent level and decent life, but there were no prices. Everything was run of the mill.
There were no. What was that?
Everything was just run of the mill. I went to grade school, junior high school, and high school in McAllister, and graduated on the 15th day of May, 1941. There was no job market in eastern Oklahoma at that time, so I figured the best place in the world I could do to go make some good money was join the CCC camp, which was Civilian Conservation Corps, and they paid a hell of a sum. It was $30 a month in board and room. So it being at wit's end and needing some kind of money, I enlisted in the CCC camp, 41. Then the Japanese hit Pearl Harbor on the 7th. I enlisted in the Navy at the local post office down there. I walked in thinking I was going to get a good deal, and I walked into the recruiter, and he had no problem at all accepting my enlistment. So he signed me up, and I thought, in reality, when I signed the enlistment papers, I was enlisting for the duration of the war, but when I got to San Diego and they started sticking all those needles in my arm, I found out I was in the Reagan Navy for an ironclad 4-year term.
So regardless of whether the war was over.
So regardless of whether the war was over, my time wasn't over.
Right.
I was in for 4 years, or until my 21st birthday, whichever came first. Well, the dates just seemed to coincide because one thing led to another, and another thing led to another. At the end of, we fought all the way through the Pacific on a light cruiser during World War II. Was 6 months out to go to Europe, made Sicily and Italy. took Patton into Sicily, took him all the way around the coast of Sicily into Messina, and jumped from Messina into Salerno and Toronto, Italy, and got him firmly established on the road to Rome. The captain came on the bullhorn one day and said, "We're going back to the States." But what he mentioned, or failed to mention, was the fact that we were going back to the States for 7 days, and then we were right straight back in the Southwest Pacific. I came home to Oklahoma, and everybody was living a wartime life. You know, OPA was in effect at that time, the Office of Price Administration. Everything was rationed: gasoline, cigarettes. Whiskey was illegal, but you could buy plenty of it. And I went from 7-day leave in 1942 back to the Pacific, and stayed in the Pacific from July 1942 until May of 1945, without ever coming home. We took MacArthur all the way up the Pacific chain, and as you hear that.
You transported him? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? On board?
He was using my light cruiser, the Boise, as a flagship for his fleet. We took him, and a lady in the Philippines, and took him from Leyte to Luzon, where we made the initial landing on Lingayen Gulf, and served as MacArthur's flagship until the troops were firmly established on the beach, and Mac took off, and so did we. After fighting the war in the Pacific without any leave or anything, we came back to the States. Pretty badly shot up 11th day of October 1942 off the northeast coast of Guadalcanal. We got hit by a total of 85 8 and 6-inch hits, and lost 107 men and 4 officers, and had dead bodies stacked all over the ship. No body bags, no nothing. And by the time we made it back to the Caledonia Islands to bury those people, they were beginning to smell a little bit. In fact, they were getting rank.
What was that like on board when that was happening? What were you doing?
It was pure hell. I was in a what they refer to as the Fire Control Direction Center, up in the very tip top of the ship, directing the main battery gunfire. We had 15 6-inch guns, 8 5s.
So you were shooting, or you were directing?
We were directing the fire. The turrets were doing shooting.
Okay.
But the ship was directing the fire. In the space of 21.5 minutes, we sank 6 Japanese cruisers and 3 destroyers, and lost that 107 people. Came back to Philadelphia, spent 9 months in the yard in Philadelphia, getting refitted, rearmed, the ship completely rebuilt, and right back to the Pacific again. I beg your pardon, didn't go to the Pacific. We went to the Mediterranean for the Sicilian, Italian campaigns, and then from there back to the Pacific, and stayed there till the end of the war. When the war was over with in August 1945, I was at complete loss of what to do, and bounced around from one job to another. And finally, after 1945 to 1961, various odd jobs here and there. I look back in retrospect and I said, well, I got too much time in to quit now, so I went back into the Navy. And ultimately retired from there the 15th of September 1971. We got our share of the battles in. After that, mostly off an aircraft carrier. 1971, when I retired and came home.
Well, let me ask you a second. You were you did more military stuff in the first stint, and then you were a photographer during the Vietnam
I was a
War.
photographer during the Vietnam War.
What kind of stuff did you take? What?
Combat footage mostly. Island campaigns, various battle campaigns. Most, I'd say 85% of the work was on board the aircraft carrier Constellation, and was directly related to their flight activities. The fighter aircraft bombers who were assaulting northern Vietnam at the time, and flew 3 missions over Hanoi, R5C, which is reconnaissance aircraft. And as I
You
tell
flew reconnaissance missions? Is that
I
what you're
didn't.
saying?
I didn't fly the airplane. I
Right.
flew on the mission.
You were on the
Yeah.
plane. Right.
And that was our first encounter with SAMs, what they refer to as SAMs, surface to air missiles. I kept telling the pilot, this is going to be a snap because we're not getting any anti-aircraft fire. And he kept telling me to look out either one of the aircraft. And he said, "You see those white trails?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Those are surface to air missiles." And I said, made a couple of appropriate Navy comments. I said, "Well, those son of bitches hit us." He said, "They have automatic homing device," but we survived.
So you took photos out of the plane?
Yeah.
How did that work with you get a cockpit and the lens, so you focus infinity or
Yeah, I had
whatever?
telephoto lens,
Okay.
the infinity. Mostly it was recon damage assessment type stuff. No air combat, nothing else like that.
Mhm. After a battle.
Yeah,
you
the
fly in.
fighter aircraft and the attack aircraft would go in on a certain mission, like the one over in Hanoi, the oil field up there, oil dumps. And then when they were through, we overflew the area and took pictures of any and all damage, if any in fact it occurred. And I spent the first time, we were 9.5 months on the line off Vietnam. Came back to the States, spent a little time in the States in Merrill Naval, in the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard. And they came in one day and said, "You got your orders?" And I figured, hot dog, I'm going something cushy. And sure enough, what they do, they sent me back to the same carrier. We went back to the same place, which was Vietnam. And we stayed there until the Vietnamese campaign, to all intents, was over with. The Americans had to pull out. We ceased operation against North Vietnam. And came back to the Philippines and based there at Subic Bay, home port in Subic Bay, as it were. And they came back to me and said, I believe it was April of 1971, said, "Put in your retirement papers, said your time is coming to an end." So I did, when necessary bureaucratic paperwork was over with. And finally retired with a ship sitting at Pierside, North Island, San Diego. I went in as a BAR, which is military terminology for bare-ass recruit, and came out as a first-class petty officer. And came back to Oklahoma. Was drawing a pretty good retirement, but I wasn't happy, wasn't satisfied. So I decided I had writing talent, went to work for 3 newspapers here in the state, first Muskogee, Phoenix, and then the Daily Oklahoma and the Oklahoma City Times, and worked there for quite a number of years.
How did you get a job like that with that? Did you have any newspaper experience before then, or?
Didn't have any at all.
So how did they, I mean, these days, they would expect experience or whatever. How was it that you got hired for a job that you...
I went up to see Carl Stewart, who at that time was managing editor of the Oklahoma, and he said, "I'll give you a whirl." So he sent me down to see Ralph Sewell.
Did he know you?
Yeah. No, he didn't know if I had a dog box. He sent me down to see Ralph Sewell, who was city editor of the Oklahoma City Times. This was when Oklahoma was publishing both papers. Before the Time went like the Dallas Times Herald, and just died.
Right.
And really enjoyed it, but I was mainly assigned to the police beat in Oklahoma City. And
Is that because you worked for the Highway Patrol?
I'd worked for the Highway Patrol before, back in the 40s after the Second World War.
Mm-hmm.
And thoroughly enjoyed that, but salary was too much for it. He paid too much money. I was making $165 a month, and went on to other fields from there. I thoroughly enjoyed the newspaper, and it's the newspaper up there in Oklahoma City, the newspaper career, because it put me in contact with the police, and I loved to cover. And part of that police coverage was working with the Vice Squad on various Sunday raid vehicle, and a lot of the
So you went on with them on the.
Yeah, I went with them on the raids, covered the raids.
What was like the most memorable raid that you went on?
We had an old boy by the name of, strange to say, Oswald, out in southwest Oklahoma City, and he was a bootlegger, and confiscated untold godly amounts of booze from this bootlegger and took it back to Oklahoma City Police Station. And I don't know how it happened, but I was helping them transport it, and some of that whiskey never made its way out of my car. I got away with about a case, I guess.
Were you the only one, or did all the other cops?
No, I was the only reporter with them. There wasn't any television people, nothing else.
Did the other cops keep some of it themselves too?
I had no way of knowing that. We're all carting it into the vault down there at the sheriff's office, and I was enough of a friend of the police that I wasn't going to check them.
Right.
I was more intent on stealing what I could get my hands on and get it out there. One thing led to another, and I wound up, I was at the time, didn't have common sense to know, but I wound up thoroughly involved in alcoholism, became confirmed alcoholic. Was averaging a quart of 100 proof a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, which should have killed me, but didn't.
This was what year?
This was starting back in mid-70s, plus or minus. And I worked the newspaper field for quite some time, and ultimately decided after trying this and trying that the hell with it, I was going to retire, period. Did. So now, as I mentioned earlier in the interview, I do nothing just as slowly as possible. But I still make close to $2,000 a month just in retirement income. So the only real work I have to do for it is say hello to the postman on the 5th every month and shake his hands. Since 1988, I've been deeply involved in Alcoholics Anonymous, and have managed to gradually dry myself out. I'm working on my well into my 4th year of sobriety now, acting on the AA theory of just don't drink today. And the hell with yesterday, you can't do anything about it. Don't worry about tomorrow because it's not here yet. I'm thoroughly enjoying sobriety and enjoying retirement. A fellow asked me one night at a meeting, he says, "How can you do nothing?" I said, "It's not hard." I said, "I do the grocery shopping at the commissary, do 90% of the cooking, and that way I get to eat anything I want. I do my share of the laundry and my share of the dishes, and just live from day to day because day to day is all we have. I'm happy doing it." A fellow asked me at a meeting one night, he said, "Do you have any other addictions?" And I said, 3. He said, "Oh." I said, "What are they?" I said, "Nicotine, caffeine, and New York Times crossword puzzles." He said, "You any good at crossword puzzles?" And I said, "You're damn right." I said, "I work them with a pen and no eraser." But what I did not tell him is I kept a bottle of White Out right by my coffee stand, and at the rare times when I do make a mistake, I white it out and remark it. But I'm happy, and I'm serene. I have a good faith in God. I have a wonderful priest and a lot of people who support me. And to quote another old Oklahoma, well, Roger Quine, how should I worry? I got it good. There's no sense me sitting here bitching about the holes in my socks when I can drive down Berry Road on my way to town someday and constantly see this poor bastard in a wheelchair with no legs. So why should I worry about the holes in my socks when other people got a lot worse off than I have? What do you have to look forward to? I said, right now. As I mentioned earlier, you can't do anything about yesterday. It's gone. Except learn from it. Don't brood about it. You can't do anything about tomorrow because it's not here yet. And I have one other vice that I forgot to mention. Braum's French vanilla ice cream. I'll average 2.5 gallons a week. I don't even worry about the cholesterol. So whatever God has in store for me is going to come, and I can't stop. And when he says, "Hey, Laurence, it's time to go," there ain't going to be no round trip ticket. So I'm happy with Laurence now. I really am. Not getting any younger, not getting any prettier, but I'm happy, and that's all that counts. I'm through.
Oh, let me ask you some questions. I want to know more about because your parents died when I was pretty young, and I didn't really get a chance to know.
Yeah, that's true.
Why don't you talk about your mom, your dad, describe them?
My father was a salesman during the peacetime years. First for R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company.
What was his name?
Julian Owen. That's where you got your middle name. He was a salesman for Griffin Grocery Products Company and R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company.
Griffin, like the syrup?
The entire food line.
Oh, okay.
The entire food line. Then in latter years, he went to work for the Missouri, Kansas, and Texas Railroad, the main intersection depot in McAllister. And he was still working there when cancer overtook him.
What kind of cancer?
He had bone cancer. He wound up at Veterans Hospital in Muskogee. He got pretty sick. My mother was a saint.
What was your dad's personality like? Did you guys get along?
Oh, we got along fine. Rather tackling. He's an alcoholic too. So
Did you know that when?
I didn't know that at the time. No. This guy used to come by his service station, Dad, on the one time, periodically during the week, and they had 2 Mennobaits with him. I happen to know for a fact that Dad never went fishing. Well, being curious one day, the guy came by these 2 Mennobuckets, and they didn't have any water in them, but they were both full of Jim Beam half pints. It didn't take me long to figure out what was going on.
How old were you then?
Let's see, 1924 to the late 30s. So I was around 15, 16, 17, 18. My dad and mother died within 13 days of each other.
No, not that close. No.
Was it that close? 23 days.
About
then.
6 weeks.
The 6 weeks?
6, 7 weeks.
Well, nothing I can do about that.
Your dad died on February the 2nd, 1963.
Okay, so
That would have been 2
and that
in a week.
the American Red Cross got a hold of me over in Vietnam or Korea, and with a wire that Dad had died, and we were operationally engaged, so there was no way in the world I could make it back for the funeral. And then my better half said, 6 weeks later, same Red Cross officer got a hold of me and said, your mother's just died and you are going back.
And why was that? They let you.
So
Were you in the middle? You were in the middle of an operation then, or?
we smack dab in the middle of an operation.
Okay.
But he said, you're going back to the services, and Navy flew me from Vietnam to Japan, and from Japan back to Oklahoma. I came back for the funeral. We buried Mama, and I was back on the airplane, gone. Back to Vietnam.
Where was the funeral?
Where was the funeral?
Yeah, where your parents buried?
They're buried in Oak Hill Cemetery in McAllister, Oklahoma. It's a family plot. Not every, but two grandparents, four uncles, my mother and my father. So 8 people are buried there in that family plot. And I make it back here a couple times a year to pay my respects. Neither one of the two gave any evidence of any problems whatsoever. Both of them were just as serene and easy to get along with as anybody I ever saw.
Was your dad's dad an alcoholic? Do you know?
Not to my knowledge.
What do you think got him drinking? Do you have any insight into that?
I don't have any insight into it, but there's one particular aspect of alcoholism that's inherent. And Alcoholics Anonymous, most of us think that a person, be it male or female, is actually born with not only the possibility but the high probability being an alcoholic because of certain gene structure in the body. And that's the way it is. There's no sense of moaning about it because some people get leprosy, some people get diphtheria, some people get pneumonia, some people get diabetes, scabies, herpes, gonorrhea, syphilis. I just happen to be an alcoholic. It's a disease. I think it may, and probably did, contribute to the fact that I've had 2 major cancer operations during my later years. One of them major, as you can probably tell through the camera lens, with that right shoulder. They took out the lymphatic system, the thyroid glands, all the muscles, and all the flesh out of my shoulder. There's nothing left there except bone. I survived pretty well during the warm months, spring months and summer months. But when winter gets here and that shoulder starts stiffening up, I've got to go down to the technical station and get a Marvac job on with grease. It's just so it stays loose enough, to function and operate. But I'm happy. Happier now than I've ever been in my life. As long as I get my ice cream, my crossword puzzle, and get to go to a meeting. Why in the hell should I worry? There's no reason whatsoever to worry. I got 2 wonderful kids, both of them grown and gone from home. I got 2 wonderful grandchildren. My home's bought and paid for. My wife has money in the bank. Not me. Well, what Tashi doesn't have yen 1 in the bank. I'd made such a mess of our finances in my drinking career that we decided to let her handle them. And when my 2 retirement checks come in every month, I endorse them, and she takes them to the bank and cash them, and gives me a monthly allotment, or allowance, I should say. What doesn't go in the donation basket to Alcoholics Anonymous, I spend on bronze French vanilla ice cream. That is my other major addiction as far as stuff ingested internally. What the hell? I'm also anti-Clinton. Regardless of his faults, I was always a Dick Nixon man. But I also voted for Eisenhower. Did not vote for Harold Stassen. No way in the world I'd vote for that son of a bitch. But I'm happy with me. I have no complaints. None whatsoever. I got to thinking, good God Almighty, you turned 70 your last birthday. You haven't got much time left, but I've got today. And after all, Methuselah lived to be 900 years old and had 1,000 wives. I am not in the market.
You haven't talked about your brother at all. What was it like growing
My
up?
brother was a direct antithesis to me.
What's the age difference?
3 years younger. He is 3 years younger. Where I was kind of happy-go-lucky and irresponsible, he's very calm, cool, and collected, and very serious. An accomplished pilot with a commercial license. Was also married.
Keep talking.
But he's living in Louisiana now, and we don't see each other.
Didn't want to get in the way.
We don't see each other, but maybe once a year, maybe not that often. We don't stay in contact too much, but I don't think neither one of the two of us worry about that too much, because if anything happens to one, the other one's going to find out about it immediately. And as I say, my life is in God's hands now. My daughter's married to a good lawyer. Got 2 wonderful children living in Richardson, Texas. My son just graduated from the University of Arkansas with a master's degree, and he's going on to the University of South Florida, Tampa, to get his doctorate. And I think he firmly intends to go into teaching. I've got it good. I have got it good. That brings us up to date.
Well, why don't you tell me a story about you and your brother that would kind of some like anecdote that you remember that would. You said that you were very happy-go-lucky and he was very serious.
We never
what
did
kind of thing
socialize
happened?
too much.
Why was that, do you think?
We didn't socialize any. He had his circle of friends, I had mine. And he had various and sundry girlfriends, and I only had one at a time. In the years, our formative years, he traveled one circle, I traveled the other, but we're still brothers, we still love each other. And our feelings toward each other seemed to have warmed and coalesced in our latter years, simply because I'm the eldest of the 2 children, and he is the youngest. He and his wife aren't able to have any kids because of some genetic defects.
Who had those? Is that Eileen or?
Hmm?
You said they couldn't have any kids?
Mm,
So
that's her.
Tracy and Terry are both adopted?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both, Tracy and Terry are both adopted.
Who had the genetic, did they isolate that?
I'm almost convinced it was Joe's wife Eileen, because she had some female deficiencies, physical deficiencies. The vast majority were adult life, which, without consulting with the doctor, indicates to me that she had non-productive ovaries. So without 2 eggs, without a sperm and an egg, you're not going to get a kid, right?
I think that's how it works.
That's how it works. But they adopted 2 girls. The eldest is Terry, who's living in Shreveport, Louisiana now. The youngest is Tracy, she's married and living in Baton Rouge. And they seem to be very happy. As I said earlier, my brother and I don't communicate much, but we don't have to. I mean, I get either a birthday card or a Twix from him on my birthday. And our birthday greetings have tended more toward the ribald in the past few years because we both kind of take oblique shots at our advancing antiquity. Where's that birthday card he sent me? What was it? He sent me a birthday card this year with a semi truck drawn up, and it says, "Here's your."
No, you're getting that one mixed up with the one Debbie sent you.
Is that right? Well, what is it?
I don't remember. Well, that one that Debbie sent you was something to do with moving. Said, where do you want your candles? Moving
Yeah.
truck.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. I thought it was diapers.
No, that was Debbie.
No, it was candles. Said,
Debbie sent.
your birthday candles are here. It says, where do you want them dumped?
Yeah.
That's what I refer to as a rather black shot in my advancing years. But I quit counting. As of the 20th last month, I quit counting.
This month. This is still May.
This is June.
No, it's not.
20 more days.
She's gonna argue over 24 hours.
Might as well get it right.
As I say, I quit counting. Number one, I can't stop the clock. Number two, I can't turn it back. Number three, I can't speed it up. So live each day at a time. I'm happier at 70 than I've ever been in my life. Simply by being satisfied with what I have. I do not want to be president. I do not want to be chairman of the United Nations. The only thing I want to do is be left alone. So I watch the noon news, People's Court, take a nap, watch the evening news, go to my AA
Set
meeting,
his ways.
come home, watch the 10 o'clock news, watch MASH from 10:35 to 11:05, eat my pint of ice cream a day from 11:05 to 11:20. I'm in bed no later than 12:34. And a guy asked me one day, he said, why did you pick out 12:34? I said, well, I have a red digital clock that sits on my night table. And I just like the way that clock looks when I turn out all the lights and the dial says 1, 2, 3, 4, it's time to hit the darn floor. And so I'm in bed and I'm asleep by 1:44, no later than 1:44. Get up, next day the routine starts all over again. Same thing. Noon news, Judge Wapner, with my nap. And why do I need anything else? I absolutely don't. The guy said, "No, you want to make any more money?" I said, "Hell, I don't get any to spend now." I said, "How far do you think $1 a day goes?" I was making more money in the CC camp because I got to keep all of it. So I get to mama, and I don't know what she does with it.
Okay.
She's all on me.
She's got Swiss bank accounts that I don't even know
Oh,
about.
Lawrence, do you know better than that? I've been dishing it out to you because you overdid your allowance this last month.
And I spent it all on you.
No, you didn't.
Didn't buy any more ice cream. Well, we did go to
Oh,
Fayetteville. And that took a little extra money. You know what they charge for bacon a day in those restaurants? It's ungodly.
Is it
Ungodly.
almost finished?
Well, no, we still got
Well, $6. $6. I go to Brahms, get 1.5 pounds of good thick bacon, a dozen eggs, and bring it home with some,
Brahms.
not Brahms, Albertsons. Bring those home and cook them. As long as I got my spicy hot V8 vegetable juice to go with it, that's all I need. I think if I had more money than I got now, which is none, I'm gonna have to borrow $1 tonight. There's a good chance if I got enough together, I might start drinking again. I don't want to do that. So I don't need money. I didn't have any money when I got here. Won't need it when I leave. The guy said, "Don't you want any money for later on?" And I said, "Why in the hell should I have money when I die?" I said, "Where I'm going, it'll burn up anyhow." He said, "Well, you can always leave it to somebody else." I said, "Let them get there the same way I got mine. Ask for Mama for an allowance." Or an increase in the allowance. I won't finish my coffee, it's cold. See that cup? I had it since 1964.
Hold it up a little bit. Let's get the bottom of it. Yeah. How'd you get the name Pappy?
Because I was the oldest man in the photo detective. I was older than the commanding officer.
How old were you then?
64, 24 from 64 would be 40. They were all kids in that Vietnam War. There was very few of us old timers down there. In fact, I was the only guy on board Constellation who had fought during World War II in Korea and the Vietnam conflict. So I had 3 wars, 3 good wars. The guy said, I mentioned the meeting one night, the guy said, "You're first coming good wars. What was good about it?" And I said, "Well, we were doing something on behalf of democracy and for oppressed people, people who were starving and bombed out and injured and hungry, sick, and we were doing good as we saw it." And I got a good feeling from that. He said, "You ever regret your military career?" And I said, "No, hell no. Why should I? Don't regret anything. If you spend your time worrying about the past, it's going to kill you. Spend your time worrying about the future, that's kind of useless because the future's not here yet. Enjoy life. You're getting back that coffee cup. I paid a total of 98 cents for that cup in 1964, so that makes it exactly 30 years old. Same cup. You can tell I drink right-handed because you can still read the lettering. On that side, you turn around, pour a drink out of it, see what years and years and years of caffeine have done to the paint on that cup. That was baked on enamel, gold enamel. Ain't no telling how many flecks of paint I've got on the inside of my stomach. But who's worried about that? Not me.
Were you licking the side of it?
No, I just take a sip out of it.
But you're also holding it by your hands, right? See, sometimes.
Take a sip out of it like so. I like my coffee kind of strong, so you see what it does to the enamel. Takes a little bit up there, a little bit off here. I don't know how many gallons of paint I've drank over the past few years. I ain't gonna worry about it. Getting back that nickname at Pappy, I was the oldest man in the detachment. And crew chief had that one time, stuck me with that. Or not stuck it, but he slapped that nickname on me. And he said, "I don't want to call you Larry," he said, "because it doesn't sound too good." He said, "I don't want to call you Laurence because you always bitch about the way I spell it. So I'll just call you Pappy." He said, P-A-P. P-A-P-P-Y, right? And I said, "Yeah." And that's the way it's been. I still occasionally, about once a year, hear from some old Navy buddies who, that's the only way they knew me. Older, but no bolder.
How did you get from the more military side of the Navy to the taking photographs? Before you were more in a combat type situation, or you said you were guiding the
Yeah, all of World War II, when I was actually involved in Fire Direction and Control Center, directing main battery fire on the enemy target, and had a little stint between World War II and Korea. As a newspaperman and photographer. And when I got back in 1961, they found out I had newspaper experience and photographic experience, and one thing led to another, natural progression. I got good. I was good with the camera. It's just one of those things.
You went to school too.
It was a
didn't you?
talent. Well, I went to technical school, to Light Institute school, out on the West Coast.
Did you take photography courses there?
Huh?
Did you take photography courses?
Mostly, the only thing that like it taught you was technical aspects of photography, lenses, shutter speeds, specific films for specific jobs, ASA rating. Low light photography, high speed photography, sports photography, combat photography. It was a good education. And it's kind of like riding a bicycle. Once they teach it to you, you never forget it. I'm good with camera when I choose to be. Then my eyes started going out on me. And I don't care to trust them as far as focus is concerned. But I have taken pictures and Noah landed the ark. Almost. But I'm good at it, or was good at it. But I have no desire to pursue it anymore. None whatsoever.
You said between 45 and 61 that you just did a bunch of odd jobs. Why don't you tell about those? Like what different kinds of stuff?
Well,
you
I
do?
tried to make a fortune selling insurance, and that didn't work.
What happened with that?
I just
Oh,
quit.
that was when Debbie was born in
Yeah.
53, so you went to work for insurance.
Well, before he was born, if you want to be chronologically
Yeah, well, no,
correct,
yeah,
I'll get
I
a
just-
digital computer out.
Yeah, I was just thinking, what did you do
I'll
at
just hop, skip, and
45?
jump.
He was
45?
Yeah, like, beginning
What did I
like,
do?
you were in the Navy then, weren't you?
I was in the Navy up to 45 before I went back in 61. Not much of nothing.
Well, the insurance, and then you went to Muskogee for the
I
newspaper.
already discussed that
You've
going in
done
the
that,
newspaper
so,
business.
yeah,
So insurance, newspaper, highway patrol.
Yeah,
okay.
What did you do in the highway patrol?
I was Hoodow dispatcher, District 2 in McAllister. We coordinated all the highway patrol units in the 14 county district headquarters. Enjoyed that, as I mentioned earlier. I said it paid that horrible salary, $165 a month, and that wasn't enough money to live in. So I went from there to the insurance,
Yeah, you were highway patrol and then the
Yeah.
insurance, yeah.
and from the insurance
To
to the
Muskogee.
newspaper industry.
Mhm. That was in 54.
I'm netting more now, I'm retired, than I ever made when I was working. I give Mama $1,785 a month net.
You've already mentioned that.
Yeah. That's net. You show me many,
That's a lot of money, Pat.
you don't interrupt me anymore. I'll come over and put my foot in your mouth. There's a lot of executives in this world who are working their butts off at the age of 65, 66, 67, 68, and have no nest egg. No nest egg whatsoever. I'm involved in what the Defense Department calls Survivors Benefit Protection Program. how much of a woman she is. She continues to draw 60% of my retirement pay until such time as she remarries. If she remarries after I'm dead and gone, that income is kaput. She doesn't get it anymore. So therefore, I think she has a strong incentive to stay single. Because she's a retired newspaper woman herself. And combined with my retirement and her retirement, she can buy all the damn bronze ice cream she wants to. I just won't be around to eat it. Goodbye.
Oh. Did you talk about the USS Boise or anything like that? You did? See, I don't know anything about that. Oh. About your
That's about
wartime days.
If I tried to tell her about stacking the old dead bodies on those bunks down there that night in October 1942, she'd get sick and want to go puke anyhow.
Well, I told you one time that I wish that you were history or whatever.
I don't have any
so
writing
you got
talent.
it on tape now,
What do you
right?
mean you don't have any talent, writing talent?
The patience.
Patience.
Well,
that
that's-
is important.
That's what I never understood, Lawrence. I mean,
You ever understand the chronology of putting 70 years of history together?
Well, I
Your
just
memory is not infallible.
I just thought, you know, I mean, a brief summary of
I
what
might
you did during the war.
I might
Yeah,
say
maybe,
I
right.
might say something that the legal profession might consider libelous, and you might get sued. I certainly
Well,
wouldn't want that.
No, I just wanted you to do that a long time ago, and you never did. You never had any interest after you quit working. You didn't seem to have any interest in doing any writing, and there were so many people that thought you should, including Harold Keith. He said, you know, that you had a very good talent, and you should have continued to write.
Now let me
But you didn't seem to have any interest.
let me offer you this. Out in southern Arizona, there's what they refer to as I forget what they call it, but anyhow, there's a lot of outlaw graves out there. Western bad men's graves. And one particular tombstone says, "Brother, if there's anything that's doomed, now's the time to slip it to them. Because they can't read these tombstones after they're gone. That's the way of me. Live today. Don't worry about any other thing." I mean, if I wrote a history of my life, put it down on paper, and it accidentally, my family paid somebody to publish it, and it wound up in a hardcover version. They'd come in, they'd take one look at the illustration on the cover, stick it on the bookshelf, and never read it. I know I would.
I wasn't thinking of publishing it, Lawrence. It was just for our own, you know, family thing. Just like Pat is interested in our family, because he really doesn't know that much about your family, or like he said, see, your dad died. He would have been 2 within a week. He died on February the 2nd in '63, and see, on the 9th you would have been another week. Exactly, you would have been 2. And of course you don't even remember him, do you? And then of course your mother died to see later. You probably don't remember much, much, do you? Maybe
just
Dad
barely.
a little bit.
Just barely.
Hey, it's 2:30, time for me to lay down. Goodbye.